evening. Welcome to the August 22nd, 2023 meeting of the Oshkosh Common Council. If the city clerk would please take the roll.
Ford,
Here.
Stevenson,
Here.
Bulow,
Here.
Hayes,
Present.
Esslinger,
Here.
Erickson,
Here.
Mughawar.
Here.
7 present.
This evening, the invocation will be led by Councilmember Ford.
We ask for guidance tonight as we begin this meeting. May all those who participate in our discussions and our decisions reflect the values that we cherish in this great city.
This evening, we're actually, we have guests here for the proclamation. They're also going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance from a local Girl Scout troop. So, ladies, if you wouldn't mind stepping on up. When you're ready, butterfly.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So this evening, we have a proclamation that was requested by a local Girl Scout troop. And this is in regards to fetal alcohol syndrome. We're going to read this, and then I think each of the ladies has something that they'd like to add, and then afterwards, if mom or dad wants to, for that too, okay? So whereas fetal alcohol syndrome, FASD, is an umbrella term that describes several conditions that can occur in an individual who experiences prenatal alcohol exposure, and whereas the prevalence of FASD poses a significant health concern, with as many as 1 in 20 children being affected, making prenatal alcohol exposure the leading preventable cause of birth defects and neurodevelopmental abnormalities in the United States. And whereas creating awareness about fetal alcohol syndrome disorders is an important part for health and well-being of our community and provides opportunities for preventing fetal alcohol syndrome disorders, as well as supporting individuals with FASD in our community. And whereas youth in our city of Oshkosh have been instrumental in creating awareness and promoting change in our community, and whereas Elena Peterson, Jenna Williams, and Naika Tradell, Cadet Girl Scouts with Troop 2412, are working towards their Silver Award project by promoting FASD education and awareness at the Oshkosh Farmers Market on September 9th, 2023, which corresponds with International Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorders Awareness Day. Now, therefore, I, Matt Mughawar, Mayor of the City of Oshkosh, do hereby proclaim that date, September 9th, 2023, be known as 2023 FASD Awareness Day in the City of Oshkosh. I want to thank you this evening for leading us in the pledge and coming here this evening to not only inform us, but remind us about the importance of this. And I don't know who is going to go first. All right.
Hello, I am Elena. This is Jenna and Naika. We are Girl Scouts from Troop 2414. We are currently working on our Silver Award project for Girl Scouts. Did you know that 1 in 20 children may be affected by prenatal alcohol exposure? FASD, or fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, is more common than autism. Yet there are no dedicated supports or services for these children or adults. We want to see that change.
We want those around us who suffer from FASD to know we support them and stand beside them. Also, we would love to educate those around us on how to prevent FASD in the future generations and support their peers who have FASD. We aim to stop the stigma behind FASD, stop the invisibility, and pay attention to the people. Thank you for coming alongside other cities and states by recognizing September 9th as FASD Awareness Day. We invite you to join us on our booth on 9/9 at the Oshkosh Farmers Market.
On a busy day, you will pass by strangers. One of those strangers could have FASD, just like me, and I don't need your sympathy. I need your support and understanding about my daily challenges. Thank you for joining us on the awareness mission.
To show our awareness, we wear red shoes to support 9/9, so we can step up when we step out. Thank you.
Have a great night. What we got? I think, just for a minute. Photo op. Say mom and dad, photo op.
Stay on next to me or Matt.
Come on back.
Ruined your swearing. Standing behind.
All right, next up, we have introduction of staff. Chief Stanley?
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, council members. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to the Oshkosh Fire Department's newest battalion chief, Justin Ruchek, one of our best and brightest and ready to excel in his new position, and I'll let him introduce himself and tell you a little more about his background.
Oh, thank you very much, and thank you, Chief. For me, it was basically, I started as a 21-year-old in 1996. I saw things like Y2K, 9/11, saw the city change quite a bit over the years, saw the railroad tracks get pulled out of streets, saw some buildings get knocked down that now are no longer there. But it's been great to move up through the ranks, equipment operator, lieutenant, most recently captain, and then just thanking Chief Stanley and the Police and Fire Commission for believing in me to be able to lead and most importantly protect those that I served alongside in the ranks for so many years. Thank you.
Congratulations. Next up, we're at citizen statements to council. There is one person registered, Carol Kaufman. Is Carol here? I just didn't know what Carol was registered for, but apparently not. All right, moving on to consent agenda. I'll take a motion and a second for consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Ford.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Esslinger.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
On to pending ordinances. Ordinance 23-437. Approves zone change from urban mixed-use district to urban mixed-use district with a planned development overlay for property located at 1514 Oregon Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. Take a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, please take the roll.
Ford.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Esslinger.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Ordinance 23-438 approves zone change from Riverfront Mixed-Use District to Riverfront Mixed-Use District with a planned development overlay for property located at 1000 Bauman. Plan Commission recommends approval.
Move it.
Second.
Discussion. Please take the roll.
Ford.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Esslinger.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
On new ordinances, we have a few that we don't anticipate action on, but also a few that we may waive the rules on. Ordinance 23-439, amend parking and loading zone regulations on Nevada Avenue. Transportation Committee recommends approval, and staff recommends waiving the rules and adopting on first reading. I'll take a motion to waive the rules and adopt on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on waiving the rules? Councilmember Ford?
Yeah, I just think we should point out the reason for waiving the rules on this is tied to the new school, correct, Val Phillips? So there's timing issues here.
Thank you for doing that. Yep. If there's no other discussion on waiving the rules, we'll take the
Ford.
roll.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Esslinger.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Back to the full ordinance, 23-439, amend parking and loading zone regulations on Nevada Avenue. Take a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please take the roll.
Ford.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Bulow.
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Esslinger.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Ordinance 23-440, amend parking and loading zone regulations on Kentucky Street. Transportation Committee recommends approval. Staff also recommends waiving the rules and adopting on first reading.
I will move that.
Second. Any discussion on waiving the rules? Please take the roll.
Ford.
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Esslinger,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Back to ordinance 23-440, amend parking and loading zone regulations on Kentucky Street. I'll take a motion and a second, please.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Please take the roll.
Ford,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Esslinger,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Ordinance 23-441, amend parking and loading zone regulations on Central Street. Transportation Committee recommends approval. Staff also recommends waiving the rules and adopting on first reading.
Move to waive the rules.
Second. Any discussion on waiving the rules? Please take the roll.
Ford,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Esslinger,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Back to ordinance 23-441, amend parking and loading zone regulations on Central Street.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? Please take the roll.
Ford,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Esslinger,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
The next three, we don't anticipate any action on. This will be the first reading. Ordinance 23-442, amend parking regulations on Pioneer Drive. Transportation Committee recommends approval. Ordinance 23-443, amend parking regulations on 9th Avenue. Transportation Committee recommends approval. And finally, ordinance 23-444, amend ordinance setting interest rate for special assessment payment. All three of those will be coming back at the next meeting for action. On to new resolutions. Resolution 23-445, approve general development plan and specific implementation plan for project located at 1514 Oregon Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. I'll take a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, please take the roll.
Ford,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Esslinger,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Resolution 23-446, approve necessity to acquire and accept land donation located at 1429 Fox Street. Our Redevelopment Authority recommends approval.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. Councilmember Stevenson.
I think I probably know the answer to this, but I need to hear it. Is this house too far gone to save it all? Is it?
There was actually a fire at the house.
Okay.
And so the insurance company said that it has to be raised.
Sure.
So the owner did not want to rebuild on the site, so they offered it to the RDA as a donation. There is a detached garage that is existing on the site that was not damaged by the fire, and the lot size is a pretty decent size, so we thought it'd be a great infill lot development near the Oshkosh Ave kind of redevelopment area in the new Lakeshore Park.
Sure. Cool. Thank you.
If there's no other discussion, please take the roll on, Councilmember Esslinger.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just reading over the analysis, what's our intention then with the property?
To sell it to a developer so they can build a single-family home on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Seeing no others, if you'll please take the roll on 23-446.
Ford,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Esslinger,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
Resolution 23-447, approve necessity to acquire and land acquisition located at 0 Mill Street. Redevelopment Authority recommends approval.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Councilmember Esslinger.
Thank you. Again, I read the document that you created here. I agree with everything on it. This is a bit different than the last one where this is just vacant land and it's much easier for disposition. But again, what is our plan after? I mean, I guess the question is, why are we acquiring this and not a private entity?
Absolutely. That was discussed very heavily at the RDA meeting. This property has been for sale for a long, long time. There were homes on it in 2007, and they were demolished, and the two lots were actually combined into one. And whoever did that, they never built on it. So it's been for sale for a long, long time. And we've kind of had our eye on it, but like you said, we like to kind of keep the private market, allow them to go for it if they want to. We only come in really if nobody else is going for it, and we thought we were at that point right now. So when we analyzed it, we figured out that we could split the lot into two again and put two homes with detached garages on the back that would kind of be very compatible with the neighborhood.
Okay, as far as the dollar amounts, what was it? It's listed at 44.9 or something thereabouts.
It was, yeah, it's listed for 42,000, and we came to the agreement of 32,000.
Okay. And I guess you can't speak for the person that owns the property, but I don't know why the realtor or the individual that owns the property doesn't understand. It sounds like they're just waiting for the government to bail them out of something that if they just lower the property, we wouldn't need to do this.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember Stevenson.
More of a comment than anything. I like this acquisition. I think it's a good, like you said, a good infill lot. And I think with some of the stuff you guys are doing with that, and we talked about that guide
Yep.
for like what a home can fit on there. I think this could maybe be an example to where you can tie that guide to a physical property. So
We want to do a proof of concept
Sure,
with that
yep.
guide, so we can point these built, homes using that. So yeah, absolutely, that's what we want to do.
sure, cool.
If there's no other discussion on 23447, please take the roll.
Ford,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Esslinger,
No,
Erickson,
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 6.
Resolution 23448, approved 2024 to 2033 capital improvement plan. Plan Commission recommends approval. Take a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. We'll go ahead. There you go. Councilmember Ford's going to start us off here.
Yeah, I'd love to ask a question of Finance Director Van Gonville, if he doesn't mind. It's an easy one, so. Can you just explain how this is consistent with our debt policy and the goals set by the Long Range Finance Committee?
Sure. Well, we have in your packet a bunch of different documents that make up our capital improvement plan. The main document is a funding source by project, a listing of projects and funding sources by department. In your packet, I did give you a copy of our debt analysis, but the one in your packet was an older version, so please don't refer to that one. Please refer to the version I handed out this evening. It's dated debt analysis and projection updated as of August 7th. And we have, the city manager and myself had worked on a couple of different assumptions. To answer your question, Councilmember Ford, in the past, we were looking at a $20 million potential goal for future debt issuance. But we've also talked to council about adjusting that to help find and finance additional improvements for, special assessments and for sidewalk construction. That would add about another $2.5 million to the debt issuance. So with that, the CIP for 2024 to 2023 was slightly less than $16 million, but if you add the 2.5, that comes up to 18.4, and that's what we would be presenting to council as part of our appropriations process during the budget cycle in November, and we would actually ask council for consideration of that dollar amount next spring when we do our debt issuance. So the plan meets all of the goals of council that is laid out to us. The most important being on our debt, we're trying to reduce, and the key metric is what percentage of debt are we at as opposed or compared to, I should say, the state limit. The state limits the issuance of debt to 5% of our equalized value. This, if we assume a 5% growth in equalized value going forward, again, I don't have the crystal ball, but looking at some of our past growth in equalized value, if we follow that trend, in 2023, we're already below 50%, and I know for a while the city struggled to get below 50. By 2034, we would be about 36% of our legal debt limit. The Long Range Finance Committee had recommended to the council, and council approved trying to get that below 40%, to try to increase our capacity to take on more debt if we ever needed it. And also having a lower debt ratio helps us get a more favorable interest rating when we go to our rating agencies that issue our credit worthiness, and that's for the city of Oshkosh, we've typically used Moody's Investment Services. So this plan would meet all of that. Again, this is a plan. We're asking for your approval, but the legal appropriations would be done as part of the budget process. So this kind of puts into motion not only things that we're anticipating for 2024, but also for the next 10 years. So we start planning for some of these projects that are anticipated for 2025 and beyond, and we can start that planning process to try to get us in the queue for grant funding if it becomes available, and it also helps with our planning and direction of staff to work on certain projects. So developing that plan is an important part of our process of planning for the long-range financial position of the city.
Thank you, Director Van Gompel. I know I said this at Long Range Finance as well, but we talk a lot about specific numbers, but as we all have learned, especially the last few years, the value of money changes. Equalized values in the state and in our community change. So it's really important to me that we stay targeted toward that percentage, even as the numbers might fluctuate a little bit. And certainly this is something to be proud of, the fact that we're going from, according to your chart, almost 60% of our allowable debt limit in 2017 to below 40% in 2034. And that's a continuing trend from councils before us. So that's an unequivocally good thing. So thank you.
Yeah, and just a quick follow-up, Ben, the two graphs that are attached to the data numbers kind of just gives you a big snapshot of the percentage of debt limit. And then the other one shows that gap between the debt that we anticipate we'll have based on the additional new debt that's outlined in the plan and the retiring debt, and then what the debt limit is moving forward. So under this scenario that's presented as part of our capital improvement plan, we called out for 18.4 in 24, but then it jumps up to 22.5 for about 9 or 10 years, and then back down to 20. And 20 was the goal prior to the additional 2.5 for the removal of assessments for sidewalks and to create funding for that first dollar credit or floor for special assessments moving forward. I think the city manager and myself would like to talk a little bit more about that policy and the steps in our workshop, and that's not being dictated or included as part of the CIP. It's just telling you that the funding for that meets the goals of our long-range position on that debt to the state debt limit.
And that's an important point. So even though you're putting money in there for it, that's not a policy that's already been decided. That's a policy decision
Right.
we'll have to make during the budget.
That's an assumption based on if we go down this road, that we can do it and still meet our long-range position of trying to reduce our legal debt limit.
You took the words out of the city manager's mouth. That's impressive.
The microphone moved, didn't it?
I don't know, I've kind of done this a few times too, and we've kind of worked together really well, so I'm sorry if I stepped on your toes.
No.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, I want to thank City Manager Roloff and Finance Director Van Goppel, and obviously the full staff for working on this. It's one, as Finance Director Van Goppel mentioned, it's one step. It's one part in the process to getting towards an approved budget in November. It's a big part of it for those at home. What we're doing tonight is we're giving blessing to projects totaling almost $120 million for 2024. in terms of public works, police, fire, museum, everyday amenities in the city of Oshkosh, and trying to improve those for those that live here. So, as said before, it's one step, in that process. And I'm going to have a brief motion on something, but I think
Yeah, if I
Mr. Van Gompel
could
would
just
like to.
add some additional comments
Sure.
before you make any motions. I covered most of the things with the answering the question that Councilmember Ford raised, but I think for other council members, to help you recall, we had a planning session and we had a work session to talk about our CIP. There is one change in this proposed CIP in front of you this evening that's different from that. Since we had our workshop, we have added a project that it came to light to City Council and to myself for the Grand Opera House renovation. I just want to make one quick comment on that. If you're looking at page 2 of the mentioned projects and funding sources by department, you'll see that we've added the Grand Opera House. We have design costs in 2024, and those design costs are proposed to occur with funding from the American Rescue Act ARPA funds. And then the $5,500,000 construction cost, the funding source for that has been identified with some donations and with debt issuance. So it's earmarked to be issued as far as debt in 2025, and it's included in the debt numbers going forward. And in addition to giving you a snapshot of where we're at with our ARPA funding, there was a schedule on here that showed pretty much before any potential amendments from the floor that all but about $50,000 will be used up under this process. And again, we are not appropriating any money tonight. We're just approving a plan. But I know there's some feelings about some of those potential ARPA projects, and I would then refer to any other comments or motions on that. But I just wanted to set the table on some of the background information.
No, I appreciate you doing that. I know several council members have had questions about that project, how to get it into the process, and appreciate city staff working to get that into the process for us, to consider now and into the future as well. So,
And just from a implementation standpoint, I had an opportunity to meet with members of the Grand Opera House Board, and they're committed to raise the $3 million, as Mr. Van Gompel pointed out. They need to raise the $3 million before we do this project. This isn't just we'll do the project and then they'll reimburse us. That it's a true partnership. So the ARPA money will be spent on design once they are doing a feasibility study on fundraising. So the feasibility study results need to be there that says, yep, we can do that, and they're committed to raise it. Once that hits, it'll be about the same time that the council approves the budget, I'm imagining. So once they have that report that's satisfactory, then we can work on the design. We use ARPA money for that. I was reluctant to commit any more ARPA money because while I know that the brand will do a great job of the fundraising process, I still want to make sure our funds are spent by the end of 2026. And just in case they hit a glitch in fundraising, I don't want that to jeopardize our ARPA money. So we're moving some funds around. What we're going to propose is perhaps using some of the ARPA money for the fire training facility, because that's a goal that we're working on. So I want to make sure that our ARPA monies are exhausted well before 2026. I do not want to have to start playing the spending game. We'll be well on our way to having exhausted our ARPA funds by the end of 2025, and that's really where I'd like it to be. So, and the brand knows that they got to do their fundraising. Once they hit their fundraising mark, then we'll be in a position to go out and put it out to bid. And the timing is also working to make sure that the Grand's closure, when they go dark, they want to be very strategic about that. They don't want to be closed during 2 seasons. They want to be closed for 1 season only. Mr. Esseling will remember fondly because he was mayor when we originally did the roof project, which closed the Grand for 2 seasons because of the urgency. In this case, we're only going to close it for 1 season. So we've worked out those details, and I wanted you to be aware of that, because I know there was some question about how you're going to do this, and I wanted to make sure you understood that.
Appreciate the additional information on that. As I mentioned, I have one, we'll call it minor, motion to make. So as part of the CIP here and projects for consideration, staff has put together using $3.5 million in ARPA money to fund the Pioneer Riverwalk. This is along the Canadian National Railroad segment in 2024. It's a valuable project, along with several other extensions of the Riverwalk that we have. This isn't a knock towards the Riverwalk itself or any of those projects coming forward. This is just for me saying I don't think that this is the best and highest use of these funds at this time. What I'd like to do is move to amend the CIP to remove $3.5 million in ARPA funding for the Pioneer Riverwalk Canadian National Railroad project and turn that funding in to be determined. And if I get a second, I'll explain more.
Second.
Well, I'll call for discussion, but I'll go right away. This is about the highest and best use of our dollars. As City Manager Roloff just alluded to, we do have a certain window of time to spend these dollars, and $3.5 million in 2024 towards a small segment of our Riverwalk, when we have other, I think in my opinion at least, higher value priorities in terms of our city infrastructure, whether it's city facilities or other needs. I think we've got better uses for that $3.5 million. For me, we've done such a great job on our Riverwalk up to this point, and we've done an even better job on getting grant funding for as many segments of that as possible. I feel confident that if something, if a development had to occur and community development came to us and says, we've got to do this, we'll find the funding. I'm confident in that, but that's the reason for my motion to amend this evening. I don't know if there's any other comments on that or any questions. Councilmember Essinger.
Thank you, Mayor. I understand what you just said there. I guess for me, it's kind of a bit of a curveball. Was not expecting, didn't expect this. And I know there's some activity over at the Pioneer Inn. I don't know how that would affect any future activity. If there is any, if there isn't any, I'm not sure. And so I just don't know if this is I don't know if this is something I can approve tonight without really asking the staff, and I'm not asking the question, to provide an analysis of whether that would be detrimental to the efforts that we put forth and we're going to do in the future. So I understand, Mayor, what you're doing there. And in fact, I applaud you looking at it and saying I don't think it's appropriate. I just don't know. So I just am not comfortable with supporting the motion.
Understood. No problem at all. Councilmember Stevenson, followed by Councilmember Bulow.
Yeah, I was more just going to give the floor to Planning Director. And maybe give us your take on it. Do you think we could fund this through grants or other means?
There's certainly grants out there, no doubt. Most of the time, they do have matches. Sometimes it's 50%. I'm actually looking at applying for a grant that's a 20% match. So there are absolutely grants out there. This is a segment, we just finished kind of the east-west segment of Pioneer Drive, which looks great. But now we're looking to, now that we're across the tracks, get to that entrance where like the vehicle bridge is. We want to continue to go forward and continue the Riverwalk construction down to the breakwater, regardless if the Pioneer Island develops or not. But when Pioneer Island does develop, per an agreement that we have with the state, with the owner, the land trust, we are required to put that Riverwalk on the island. So we would be doing multiple segments because we have to get people to the island and then, of course, put it on the island. So from a staff level, I understand that the money, we all the departments, we all have to share it, and I'm fine with that, and I'm always looking to try to use other funds to leverage our projects. So, but like I said, it's something that we hear so many positive things about the Riverwalk. We really want to continue to construct it. even if it's every other year, we want to try to continue on with that all the way down to that breakwater in the marina.
Councilmember Bulow.
All right, thank you. My question is actually back to you, Mayor McGraw. So moving it to TBD, if we could not find other funding sources in the future, or we could only find 50% or 70%, would you be open and willing to move back into the ARPA to make sure the project gets completed?
Moving it into TBD, if funding isn't found, I think that project gets pushed to 2025, in my opinion. If we're able to use that $3.5 million towards something else that we were going to take debt on for, that would be a higher priority for me than on this one. That would be a higher priority. But I understand the question, and I'm confident with our general fund. If City Manager Roloff comes to us and says, you know, we've got an 80% matching grant, we've got to find the 20. With our general fund, we've got the funds available that if we have to, we can find it. We can execute on it if we needed to. So I hate to knock the project. They're all important. For me, this is a Riverwalk to nowhere at the moment. It's not one of those things where if you build it, they will come. This is in conjunction with other development that must occur, and to have, you know, good quality usage of it for me. So that's why I just don't think in 2024 ARPA funds are appropriate. I think in 25, if there was debt issuance for it, I wouldn't have much of a problem with it, quite honestly. The project is important. I just don't like the funding source.
Mr. Mayor, if I could,
Yeah,
you know,
City
the
Manager
mayor
Roloff.
the mayor raised this briefly at the workshop, and so he kind of gave me the heads up, and then and said, I have every confidence that if we have to do this project, that you'll figure out a way to do it. So thanks for the vote of confidence, but I'm going to cross my fingers when I say that. And I think Kelly understands that, so that's why Kelly has been still pursuing the possibility of grant funding. And if we were to get an 80-20, no different than what we did with the grant tonight, a $3 million challenge pledge from the grant is a very effective tool, as you know. If we get an 80-20 grant, I guarantee you I'm coming back. And I'm going to do everything to find that 20% for you, because if we're at that point, it becomes what I call a gotta-do project. And right now, I think it's up to your discretion. If you want to put it in the to be determined, we can make it work. And plus, with everything we've done with the grant and everything tonight, ultimately, Mr. Van Gompel and I are going to have to bring back a balanced CIPDF. This is one way to do that.
Councilmember Ford, followed by Councilmember Stevenson.
Yeah, I'm fine with this change. I'm fine with tying this funding to a specific project when it gets off the ground there. I think, as was stated, we need to do it if we do have a specific project there. So that's logical. I also am going to bring up, just for the sake of the record, I think I said it 2 years ago. I know it takes 5 years, but Lurton Blasting Game was an early proponent of the Riverwalk, and I think in about a year or so, it'll be 5 years since his passing, and it's something where we could dedicate a portion of that Riverwalk to him. And I think that would be...
remember the 5-year rule, don't you?
I do remember the 5-year rule, and I told you I'd remember the 5-year rule, and that's important to me. So I'm just going to put that in your ear.
Councilmember Stevenson.
I think I'm going to say very similar things. I'm okay with pushing this back, with knowing that the Riverwalk is a very important project, and we're going to continue to fund that in future years. But I think pushing it back one more year isn't going to be a huge issue. And I'm going to also give you guys a vote of confidence and say we'll get the money if we need it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Bulow again.
So my only comment is, you know, if they say that they believe that they can get it, I'm all for it. I just want to put on the record that, you know, the cost of construction is continually going up. So where it might be 3.5 out of ARPA money this year, it could be 4, it could be more to debt issuance next year. And so I can go along with it. I'm not going to vote it down because it sounds like it is tenable, but I just wanted to put that on the table as well.
Yeah, Finance Director Van Gompel, sorry.
Just to kind of conclude this topic a little bit, if I can kind of tie a bow around it a little bit. You know, I'm okay with the idea because, as I understand the motion, we're leaving it in the CIP. We're just changing the funding source. We really don't get the funding sources actually appropriated until we do the budget process in November. So it's important, I think, for the public and for council members to remember that it's still in the CIP, the plan, but it's just being changed from a funding source of potentially using ARPA money to be determined. So it keeps its place as a priority item for staff. It's just that we have to find the right funding source for it.
And it also keeps it eligible for grant funding because it's in the CIP, which is another key component.
Correct, and that was important to me, to make sure this wasn't about removing it, because I know there is staff time and outside sources that have helped get us to this point already. And that's the big thing, is that it's still in the CIP, so it's eligible for grant funding, so. If there's nothing else, if you'll take the motion, or if you'll take the roll on the motion to amend.
So the amendment that I'm just making sure.
Yep.
Is to change the 3.5 for the Riverwalk to be determined in the CIP. Keep it in that.
Funding sources to be determined.
Okay, funding.
From ARPA to be.
Russ wants it clarified from ARPA
To be determined.
to be determined, yes.
Please. It just makes it clear for everybody.
Yep.
That's on page 12 of it, the item.
Okay. Ford,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Esslinger,
No.
Erickson,
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 6.
Back to the motion as amended. Any other discussion or comments? Seeing none, if you'll take the roll on the motion as amended.
Ford,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Bulow,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Esslinger,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 7.
All right, that wraps up that part of the meeting. We're on to council discussion, direction to city manager, and future agenda items. If there are any future agenda items, let us know. Otherwise, we'll move on to future workshops. August 29th, Budget Workshop 2. This is for 2024 early projections and direction on priorities from council, 5 p.m. Usually that's about 2 hours.
That's what we're
Anything-
figuring. And we're going to budget, pardon the pun, a little time for the special assessments discussion. One of the things I'm going to ask you not to respond to, but just take home as a thought. One of the things we discussed with staff was, is our goal, is the council's goal to have completely eliminate street assessments or do a partial elimination of street assessments? We started discussing that. We're like, you know what? I think we need to know that from the council. So we're going to be talking to you in that vein next week. So if that can stir some thoughts, that'd be great. If you got any questions about what we're thinking along those lines, don't hesitate to give Russ or me a call. We're happy to have that discussion, but just keep that in mind.
Good. Next up, report of council liaisons for boards and commissions. Any reports? Seeing none. City manager, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, we have a few memos in the packet regarding some projects that we're working on with professional services agreement. The council has just awarded a bid for the East Parkway Watershed Detention Basin. That is a project that's about 10 years in the making. Getting the railroad to sell us land is not an easy prospect. I think Mr. Esslinger just had a flashback because we were probably talking about this when you were last on the council.
They're impossible.
It's been that long. So you just awarded the bid, and now we're doing the construction services. Cameras for the electrical division, some more traffic signal cameras that are in the budget. A couple additional vehicles that are in the budget for cooperative purchases. Cooperative purchases are as difficult as any other purchase. Getting vehicles is really tough. We've talked about fire trucks. Something as simple as fleet vehicles is also a challenge. We're only getting 2 this time around because of the difficulty with that. Just to let you know that we're hoping it goes completely unnoticed, but with the September 12th meeting, we will be implementing an online agenda software package. You should not notice anything different to you But behind the scenes, there'll be a lot of work to make it more automated and just make the process go more efficiently. That was one of the reasons I gave you the reminder update about when agenda items are due, because the computer's gonna be a little more strict than we are. So just bear with that. So I gave you that deadline a few weeks ago. It was not generated towards any of you individually, all of you collectively. You can point fingers all you want. I'm not gonna do that. But
It was me.
So also bear with us, because we're anticipating, as with any software changes, glitch or two. So please be patient, but we're gonna run parallel systems. We're gonna do the old system as well as the new system, so that if something goes wrong, we want to make sure that Diane doesn't lose her mind. So we'll make sure that we have both systems in place so you have an agenda delivered to you. And fortunately, there's 3 weeks between now and the next council meeting. That also gives us a little more time as well. So we have that. Mr. Maurer asked me to report to you that the Pratt Trail project to repave the road throughout there were some issues with, we wanted to make sure we're archaeologically clean. We've been working very closely with UW Milwaukee on that, and we're getting very good progress. Menominee Tribe's also been involved in it, and I'm happy to report that on Monday, August 28th, we will begin construction on Pratt Trail. So that'll close Pratt Trail. We'll get some news releases out, but I wanted you to hear it first here. So if you're heading over to the Little Oshkosh or the zoo, you may not be able to take the scenic drive around on Pratt Trail, but by the time Zuluing Boo is ready to go in October, we should be done with the road. And then I have the outstanding issues in there. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Other than that, it looks like we have a motion to go into closed session from Deputy Mayor Erickson.
I move following the adjournment of this meeting, the common council may convene into closed session to discuss bargaining options, strategy, and parameters related to the negotiation of collective bargaining agreements with local number 316, IAFF, Oshkosh Fire Department Chief Officers, Oshkosh Professional Police Officers Association, Oshkosh Police Supervisors Association, and AFSCME 796 Transit, pursuant to Section 19.85 1E of the Wisconsin State Statutes, where competitive bargaining reasons require a closed session.
Take a second.
Second.
So please take the roll on going into closed session.
Ford,
Aye.
Stevenson,
Aye.
Buelow,
Aye.
Hayes,
Aye.
Esslinger,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Muglauer,
Aye.
carried 7.
Take a motion to adjourn in a second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.